Wow, thank you. I do want to thank Glenn for allowing me this privilege of speaking from his pulpit. I know that's a risky thing, and as I've promised him, I'm trying to do well enough that you will think it was a good idea for him to take the Sunday off and let somebody else be up here, but not so, I don't want to be so good that you're going to not want him back. So we're going to hit that middle somewhere. I do want to thank Zionsville United Methodist Church for your support of Friendly Planet missiology, especially the quiet and generous way you do that. 80% of what we do is invisible. And I'll try to explain that a little bit in how we do this. So we do depend upon friends and congregations who support us in all of that invisible stuff that we do. So thank you very much for that. The text that we're spinning off of, when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. For years, I considered this the most beautiful, most mysterious passage of all of Scripture, and would just read it and meditate on it in the joy that I didn't have a clue as to what it meant. Now, I took some courses and did some studying and did some reading, and along the way I did come to understand some of the scholarship behind the text there, and it spoiled it a little bit for me, but it also moved my faith along as well. You see, the ancients saw heaven not so much as we do that it's an extension of this life, but heaven was more of a parallel world, operating at the same time, considering the same events, puzzling over the same problems. And it happened from time to time, as the ancients believed, that when something important was about to happen, heaven entered a period of silence. And these periods of silence are important. Important to heaven, important to us. Now, Friendly Planet missiology. What a goofy name. Think Pure Prairie League, Stone Temple Pilots, Blue Oyster Cult. You know, we were going for that. We wanted a name that had as much a feel to it as it did a meaning. But it does have a meaning. And as Glenn has already said, along with our good friend Tom Heaton, who started Mission Guatemala, Bishop Coyner gave the two of us a great deal of freedom to experiment outside of the box in ministry and mission models. So that's what Friendly Planet missiology has been and continues to be, an experiment in mission. And there are three principal partners in this team. One is our daughter Taylor. And all three of us are United Methodist pastors, so I won't have to say that over and over again. But Taylor is the brains of the group. She lives now in Algiers, in North Africa, where she's the pastor of a United Methodist church there that is the recipient of immigrants from all over Africa, worshiping there in Algiers. She is like, if you're into James Bond, she is M. She runs the show. Pretty much, we are so high tech. We are on the internet all the time. Our daily or weekly staff meetings are done by Skype, and we will gather from Algiers, Plainfield, Indiana, and Lubumbashi in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And that's how we'll have our meetings. Taylor went to the Congo back when it was Zaire on one of my first trips back in 1995. She was 15 years old, fell in love with the place, said, I want to live here. So she went back to school, finished her high school, went on to American University, got a master's in international development, came back to Wesley Theology there in Wesley Seminary there in Washington, D.C., and got her MDiv. And she's now working on a doctorate in missiology at the University of South Africa. So she is the brains of the group. Let's see, can we get that picture up there? There they are. There's Taylor. The other person in the picture is Joseph Malongo. Joseph Malongo is a district superintendent of the Malongo district. There is a connection. Malongo is if Taylor is the brains, Malongo is the brawn of the group. He's the hardest working pastor in all of the Congo. Joseph leads the fastest growing district in the fastest growing conference in the whole United Methodist Church. He just finished 8 churches, building churches this year. And then there's me. And according to the business card that Taylor made up for me, I'm the madman on the bicycle. I ride a bicycle. We also have a riverboat. Anybody been to Disney World? Okay. The Jungle Cruise in Disney World? Okay, that's our boat. We got that boat. I joked with Terry the last time we were on the Jungle Cruise in Disney World, and I was busy writing down all the stick because I need that. I said, I'll bet you of the thousands of people in the park, we're probably the only family who actually owns a riverboat on the Congo River. So, most of what we do is on bicycle, or for communities that we cannot reach except by water, on boat. And we travel throughout the war zone of eastern Congo, visiting villages that have been run over in the war and are trying their best to recover. And what we do there is we listen. We spend a lot of time listening. We listen, and we listen, and we listen. And then about the time where we think we understand, we stop ourselves and we listen. It takes months, years of listening before we ever drill a well, build a school, build a church. We listen. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, there. Malongo is he's got the yellow hat on backwards. I'm in the shirt that is drenched in sweat. And we're entering a village where we're going to do some listening. Well, here's what we've heard. Always, everywhere, consistently, we heard, we feel abandoned. No one knows we're here. I'm not sure what kind of signals I'm supposed to be using here. There you go. This is a tiny village. I gave you a little story on this village because it's so important to us. I've stayed in this village a number of times, pitching a tent. There are only 5 huts in this village. And we've enjoyed their hospitality over the years as we've traveled this road. And last year, we went back through this village and it had been burned to the ground. That's the kind of setting we're working in. And what we heard, we feel abandoned. Nobody knows we're here. I said 80% of what we do is invisible. That's probably not the right word to use. 80% of what we do is pastoral. We sit with communities that feel like nobody knows that we're here, just to let them know that somebody knows that you're here. Second thing we heard, right on top of the list, and you can imagine all of the things that you could hear in a typical village in a war zone in eastern Congo. You can imagine what you would hear about in terms of needs. But the number 2 thing after we feel abandoned was, and this young woman is doing exactly what I'm talking about here. This is an actual shot of a young woman standing up in the congregation and saying, "When I was school age, my parents did not send me to school. I can't read." Of all of the needs in all of these communities, to consistently hear over and over and over again at the top of the list, "My parents didn't send me to school because I was a girl." The next thing that we heard, and this gets into the more typical of what you would think about needs, is the need for fresh, safe, clean drinking water. Okay? But there's more to it than just safe drinking water. It's also about the number of hours that women spend in a day collecting water. And when you're working in a community where the women begin their work at 4 a.m. and they're not done until midnight, it's really hard to inspire folks to think about a better future when I can't even get today done. And it's not just the women. It includes the pastors, includes the farmers in the field, includes the fishermen. Exhaustion. And we wonder why malaria is such a killer disease. People are exhausted. The next one, you would guess as well, access to health care. And the last one, bicycles. Now, I'm not a dummy. I know that we have a reputation for distributing bicycles, so any community we show up in is going to ask for a bicycle. But there is an underlying need for transportation, and the bicycle has been the right tool at the right time for a lot of people, and so that's been important. Now, mostly my work is done after we've done the listening, and the community's work kicks in. We work very hard to make sure that none of the projects are our projects. We don't invent them, we don't create them, we don't encourage them, we don't sell them. All projects rise out of the energy of the community. And so this community that we're working in right now, the Molongo district, has created the doctors of the local hospital there. And if you ever want to see an Albert Schweitzer era hospital, that's the hospital in Molongo. I would trust my life, and have trusted my life, to the doctors who are there, but there's nothing high-tech about this hospital. But the doctors there became concerned during the war that nurses were given 6 weeks of education and then sent out to do all kinds of damage in healthcare in the community. So the doctors in this community, along with Joseph Molongo, who chairs the board of this nursing school, created a nursing school. University-level accredited 3-year nursing school. They created that. They created a foyer. Now, foyer comes from the old missionary days where the wife of the missionary would create in the front room a Bible study. And out of that Bible study would come all kinds of women's education programs. And so they have created here in Molongo a foyer for women's literacy. Now, what I love about this is somehow the United Methodist Women in Indiana got hold of this and decided they wanted a piece of the action, and the women in Molongo fired 20,000 bricks. The women in Indiana, the United Methodist Women in Indiana, matched dollar for brick, and with $20,000, and the foyer was built. These are the kind of projects that they're doing. But the one thing that I wanted to come back to was, while, yes, there are bricks and mortar projects, yes, there are bicycles to be distributed, yes, there are all kinds of things that we can do to help out, but everything begins with listening. And the connection that in the most remote district of the North Katanga or Tanganyika Conference, the people there feel like they are a part of the United Methodist Church. And they feel like, in all of their struggle, you know that they're there. Thank you. Amen.